Hi there, Pete Scargill here. So what a couple of us have been working on is a new version of the script, which will be described in the text here. And in order to demonstrate that, what we're going to do here is very quickly knock up a VM of Ubuntu Xenial. As you'll see above, I've used DietPi and all sorts of things there. This is generally intended for Raspberry Pis, Orange Pis, friendly ARM boards, to put all the facilities that you might want for a home control system, as discussed on the website tech.scargill.net. So we're going to put together a quick Ubuntu VM. And once that's done, I'm going to take you through the installation or the running of the menu, which will then give it an installation of all these various packages. And then finally, I'll show you the packages in operation. So all of this will become a bit clearer as we go along. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new Ubuntu X, we'll call it, VM. Standard, a gig's fine. Create a hard disk now, virtual hard disk, dynamically allocated, 8 GB hard disk, good enough. So that's kind of, you might use an 8 GB SD on your Raspberry Pi or whatever. So 8 GB is fine. And what I'm going to do with this before I boot it up, I'm going to give it an ISO image of Ubuntu on a virtual CD, so when it boots up, it will boot into the installation. So if we go to settings, storage, add a new CD, Ubuntu, that particular one, don't worry about that AMD 64, I'm on a Intel, but that version works for both. Gonna open that up. Now we've got that. So that should just boot up and start installing Ubuntu on the VM. Let's see what happens. What you'll see will be an awful lot faster than how it actually happens. I'm just dragging this across. I haven't touched anything. There you go. It's it wants language selection. Yep, install Ubuntu server, English, United Kingdom. May as well do this. Y W. No, there isn't. No, there isn't. No, there isn't. No, nope, nope, nope. And there's a pound. All right. Okay, I could at this point create a user Pi, but I want to demonstrate that the script handles that. So we'll just create a user called user. And a password of password. Yep. 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 So now it's off creating the file system and loading the files from the virtual CD onto the virtual hard disk. Right, no proxy. Install security updates automatically. Right, so at this point, I'm going to want to use WinSCP to come into this virtual machine to do installation. So what I need to do is add OpenSSH server onto that. I don't need anything else. And I'm going to continue. All right, so in this case, we can just hit continue to do a reboot. It says remove CDs, but in fact, VirtualBox takes care of that. I guess I can log in here. What did I make the user? User and password. So two things we have to do. We have to make root accessible, and we have to give root a password so it can be used. So sudo password root gives root a password. So what we have to do here is to make the root user accessible externally, and we do that with sudo nano being the editor, etc. ssh sshd config. Right, and down here we will find something that says permit root login, prohibit password. We just say yes. Control O to write that out, Control X to exit. So now root is accessible externally. The user root is accessible externally. The user is accessible externally, but we're not interested in that particular user. So let's now go and get WinSCP up and make sure that we can access that. First of all, we'll find out what the address is. Power off the machine. I have to tell the network to use a bridged adapter. You can't do that until now. What that difference that makes is the next time this machine boots up, it'll have an external address just as if it was a real machine. So let's boot it up again and log back in as root. In fact, we don't need to. Yes, we do need to log in to find out the IP address. Unless we're very quick and read the IP address as it whizzes by, which is probably not going to work. Right, try again. The address is 192.168.0.153. So we can minimize those for now, and we can pull up WinSCP 3. So we'll find out. Yep. Right, so we are root. In the website, we say you should create a user Pi with sudo privileges before you start any of this. But this is a worst case, okay? So we're going to do. We need my script in the Pi user directory, but the Pi user doesn't exist yet in this case. So I'm going to actually put the script into the root directory, and I'm going to run it, and that will actually create the Pi user. I know that sounds complicated. Let's create a new file. We'll call it script.sh. All I'm doing here is cutting and pasting the raw script into that file. To make sure that the file's in the right format, I'm going to go to endline conversion, Unix format. That strips the, I think it strips the line feeds and just leaves carriage returns in. And I'm going to save that. And there it is there. And I'm going to give it execute permissions. And I'm going to run the script here as a terminal. All of this is coming from WinSCP. So let's give it a shot. Script.sh. You must be logged in as user pi. It realizes there is no user pi. And so what that then does is creates the user pi. And what it's done is opened up directory with pi, etc. in it. But we're in there as root, so really that's not a great deal. Oh, bloody hell, man. So what we need to do now is log in as user pi. But first of all, I want to get that script over to the relevant directory. So I'm going to move that to home pi. And I'm going to go and look at home pi. And I'm going to make the user pi. Okay. So you would if you had a user pi, for example, in a proper Raspberry Pi, you would script all of this stuff. So what we need to do now is actually log in as user pi. And so there we are, logged in as user pi, and we have our script all ready to go. Open up PuTTY. I'm definitely in the right place. Yep. And run. Script.sh. At this point, there'll be no checks because there is a user pi, and a menu will pop up. And you can pick what you want and what you don't want. So for example, in a VM, you don't really want I/O stuff for any particular hardware because you're not going to be using it in the VM. What we will do is add in Bridge. That's for the Amazon Alexa. Don't need to change passwords. Don't care at this point. Oh, add in a, yeah, that's in there. So everything's pretty much the way I want it there. We create a user admin and a user password so that the script can use those. We install general prerequisites, Mosquitto, Apache, Node.js, Node-RED, and a whole boatload of nodes. We install Webmin, Screen, Java, which is needed by HABridge, MP3-123, which is an MP3 player. It's a command line MP3 player for use with Node-RED. PHPSysinfo, just because we can. We upgrade to the latest NPM rather. Add a little index page in there. Add CU for the terminal. Add MC, which is a fantastic file manager and line editor within the limits of a text-based screen. And we got HABridge. So we're going to install that lot. We're going to be asked these questions at the start, and that'll be it. So what will your general username be? The username, incidentally, is what you might use if you are running Node-RED dashboard. You don't really want the same username and password as you have for Node-RED itself. And obviously this is for external access. So we'll call that user, for want of a better name. And user admin. You don't have to call it admin, I just like to call him admin. And that, ladies and gentlemen, should be the end of it. This will now run. It'll take quite a while. It could be between 20 minutes and an hour. It all depends on your hardware. Having put that password in, the next thing I'm going to see that's of concern will be a pop-up box asking me to reboot. I'll shrink the process that's going to take quite some time here right down, so you just get an idea of what's happening. And so here we are, ready to reboot. And in fact, I can't see any reason not to reboot. So I'm just going to hit enter on this. So we give it a little while for it to start up again. Use WinSCP again just to make sure everything's okay. Have a quick look. And let's take a look. So 192.168 North 153, and as you can see, Apache is up and running. If we go up to port 82, you'll see that HA Bridge is up and running. If we go to pay to 1880, you'll see that Node-RED is up and running. And if we go to 10,000, you will see that Webmin is running. And out of our 8 gig, we've used 3.37 gigs, so plenty of room, plenty of real memory there. We've got 992 meg of memory. A lot of your little SPCs have got half that or less. Not much used there. Right, let's go back to Node-RED and have a quick look. If you look down the left hand side, okay, first thing I always do with Node-RED, let's turn the grid on. Right, we've got our dashboard, we've got debug, we've got info, and we've got the nodes on the left, and you'll see this is fully packed with a lot of extra nodes. There's a few sneaked into various places. There are mine there, including Big Timer, which if you haven't seen that, have a look up Node-RED contrib Big Timer. Some Blink ones there for you, some particle ones, dashboard, a whole load of different nodes. Now we want to check MQTT. So we drag MQTT tell it to use a new broker, which will be the local broker, which has a username and password, any old topic. Alright, so I'll actually do you a quick demonstration here for those who really aren't yet up to speed with MQTT. If we take a debug node, which is going to put output in that debug window, and we're looking for the topic anything. So I'm going to take an inject node and just leave the timestamp to come out of it, and I'm going to send that to an MQTT output topic anything. And I'm going to deploy, and I'm going to run the timestamp, and as you see, the output comes from that MQTT input through to the message payload, and that in a nutshell is using MQTT. If I change a topic to something else, then you get no output because this one isn't listening for anything else. Now it is. So there you are, that's the basic setup. One last thing I didn't show you was PHPLiteAdmin. And there it is with a pre-populated database. You can see all of that in the script. If you want something else, you can change it. A very small part of that is used with our home control and the ESP login node. But you can read all about that on the blog. The details will be at the end of this video. Hope you found all of this useful. So in a very short length of time, you could be up and running with all of that software on a VM or indeed on a real piece of hardware.